For your patience, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Lewis Hopkins, Technical Manager for Q Software, and I'm just going to unmute Andrew so he can introduce himself. Andrew?
Yes. I'm Myriad IT's Consulting Manager and also responsible for Q Software for Australia and New Zealand.
Andrew, I'm just going to pop you back on mute for a second. Okay, so let's talk agenda for today. Give some background on Q Software and a little bit more about Myriad. And then we're going to look at a complete JD security solution. So I'm going to set the scene and talk about a particular product that we have to help you address some of the issues. There'll be a short demo, file summary, and then Q&A at the end. With Q&A, everybody on mute. So if you want to communicate with us, and some of you are already doing so, please use the chat and Q&A facility on the right-hand side. And what we'll try and do is pick up any questions about what you're seeing today at the end of the session. So again, if you could use the chat and Q&A, then we can address your questions later on. Software. I'm actually based out of the UK, and that is where our development is. We also have a support office there. We also have a North American support office, and as Andrew alluded to, also Australasia support covered for this particular time zone. We also have a pretty diverse sales force as well, encompassing Australia and a large presence in North America. Okay, what I'm going to do is just bring a slide. Okay, do you want to talk a little bit more about Myriad?
It's been in partnership with Q Software for the last 4 years. So we're the only business partner in the region. We're ones with certified support staff in the region. Overall, we have 50 years of experience just in JD security within the support team. It's a dedicated support team for Q Software resources in Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide. This uniquely allows us to position and through that Q Software to offer clients, to line security tool that is dead for Oracle products, particularly JD was Enterprise One, that can reduce both the workload and costs for implementations in regards to upgrades, also maintenance. And we also offer a dedicated support number for any security calls, but focusing on the region, the Australasia region.
Okay, Sanjay, I'll just pop you back on mute. So some of our customers, many of them do have offices or support over in the Australia region. I think the main thing to mention with the customer list is that there's no industry specifics. The simple connection here is that they all use JD Edwards and range in size from 50 users to 10,000 users. The issues with JD security do scale. Obviously, with less users, there's less of a problem. But as we'll discover, there's still a lot of complications to overcome. Okay, so let's just set the scene a little bit and talk about all doors open, all doors closed security. Many of you know what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to explain for those who don't. So JD Edwards out of the box is all doors open. So if a user, they can access whatever they want, do whatever they want within JD Edwards. The idea of all doors closed is that globally you lock the application down and then you grant back access to, preferably at the role or group level, things that your users need to do in order to count their jobs. Okay? With all doors closed, you can be safe in the knowledge that you're specifically granted back access to the things that people need. So one of the biggest things that people tell us when we talk about going all doors closed is how a little bit daunting, even scary, this idea of being open for so long, to switching it to locking it down. And the biggest fear is that you stop people from doing their jobs. And of course, people then on the phone to help desk to say, hey, I do what I could do yesterday or what have you. And then a lot of running around trying to figure out what access should be granted. Particularly around hidden programs, exits, UBEs, that kind of thing, programs that call programs. We'll be addressing some of that as we go through this. So upgrading, and we're seeing at the moment a lot of people talking about sort of revamping their security when putting in 9.1 in particular. So security part of your upgrade plan, or that security is part of the upgrade plan, and you actually need to do as little work as possible, but need it cleaned up. Auditors controls. So have you had an audit? Has a lot of issues come up whereby you now need to secure JDOs a little bit better? Security that maintenance. Are you spending too long dealing with security down all different routes to programs rather than a much more simple security methodology? So this is, what you've got on screen now is a little bit of research from PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, the audit firm, who are very strong with J.D. Edwards, and we've been working with them over the years. Because as a company, we don't just do security software, we also provide security review services, and it's something that if you're interested in more details, you can talk to Andrew at Myriad. But essentially what we do, like PwC, is take your data, audit, and give you back a list of the issues and recommendations relating to your security. So this is PwC's part of the research and particularly of interest to today's topic. So with metric, the left-hand column, middle column relates to the average customer that PwC audited. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the top 10%. So you've got all the green ticks. Okay, you flew through the audit. So the average customer actually had less users than the top 10%, but actually more roles, which actually kind of is counterintuitive because you would always imagine that having more users would result in a higher role count. Okay, so we're actually spelling a few myths here because, as I say, you also think that each user would also have more roles, so these roles per user would go up. But as you can see here on this particular chart, the actual average roles per user is half in the top 10%. The top 10%, a user average only has 2 roles compared to 4 in the other JDOs customers. A significant reduction in the number of users with FastPath, and that average objects per user of 164. PwC to audit you against around 164 objects. They're the ones that they're really worried about, things like next number of visions, bank account, all those kind of things. In the top 10%, a user only on average had access to 12 of those as opposed to 74 for the average JDOs customer. Put things into a little bit more perspective. We look at the record counts. Now, I'm sure you can read through this, but I'm just going to focus on the F00950 because this is something that comes up a lot when we're talking to customers. So the JDOs customer had just 74,000 lines of security in their F00950, whereas the top 10% had nearly half. So despite a higher user count, that's nearly half the amount of security in J.D. Edwards. And the big reduction is in Type 3 application security. So the average had 27,000 lines compared to 8,500 for the top 10%, which is a pretty staggering reduction given the user count again. So it's done. If you have a large number of users, or as your users count starts to grow, you can actually consolidate your security and make it much easier to work with. So that all doors open versus all doors closed, this idea that menu security is no security. So if you're trying to control or secure JD Edwards by controlling people through menus, we have a way of proving as to how effective that is, again through our audit. As noted in segregation of duties or analysis of critical programs, of objects, the complications of multiple roles and sequence manager, and of course the issues of application access, so menus, fast views, including fine cut, fast path, and those hidden programs. So a product called Security Manager Express, and Express is really the term used to describe some of the methods that I'm going to show you in the demo. So what does it do? Well, it reads in menus to create security. So if you've done a lot of work on fine cut, if you've defined really your security and access by your Solution Explorer fine cut, then we keep that in, and a single click you'll be able to create a security model from those task views. You can also use spreadsheets, so if you like working with your security in spreadsheets, we can pull that in as well. And you have the option to automatically pull in all exits, UBEs, and hidden programs when you're building security, or you can manually add them once you've pulled the security in. Part of reading in your existing task views, there's also a designer available as well, so you can actually fine cut, copy fine cut from one role to another. You can add task views, and because it's in an application, it also works on the web as well. So for this time ever, you can actually do task view maintenance on the web. We've got some proactive segregation of duties and conflict resolution. So if you've been having issues with multiple roles and sequence manager, we can help you address those issues by proactively checking the security before it ever touches JD Edwards. The last thing, of course, is that you can push the security from our tool into the JD Edwards F00950 security file. So we're not checking JD Edwards, we're messing with the architecture. We usually push back into JD Edwards once everything is done. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this what-if analysis, this segregation of duties and conflict checking. So we have a role which has access to 3 different functions. So it can do the AP voucher clerk function, purchase order maintenance, and bank account maintenance. We'll find this security within Q software, and I can now do an SOD violations check. I don't know why the text has gone off center there, and what we find is before we touch JD Edwards, before we push this into JDE, this role is breaking a rule because it can do bank account info maintenance and AV payments. Point, you can either change the role assignment or change the security. We're not affecting JDE, so we make change, recheck, everything's clean, and now we can go and build security into JDE. Now, important to mention is that we don't enforce. So, if there were an issue, you can still build it into JD Edwards. Sometimes your users will need to do things that are of a conflict. So, maybe you've got a small office somewhere, and your finance people need to do AR and AP, which in an office simply wouldn't work. So, the software will not stop you from building these issues. You can put what we call mitigations or exceptions to the issues in order to allow for easier reporting later on. And it works the same with conflict resolution. So what if I give this security to this role or this user? What conflicts will they have? So user has 3 roles: purchase order maintenance, AP voucher clerk, and bank account maintenance. My text has gone off center, but we do a security conflict check. So 1, the user P1012 with action code add no, change no, delete no. And role 2, P1012 with add yes, change yes, delete yes. So if the user A signs in with or, we will only be able to inquire in the address book. Is that what we've got? So you can sequence manager conflicts. Again, we can change the role assignment or security without affecting JDE. Okay, and more importantly, what we're not having to do at this point is to do overrides down at the user level. Talking to customers, over time they've been forced to manage more and more security at the user level, and that just leads to more and more complication. And we call security creep, which is you start with best intentions, you've got a great security model, and 12 months from now, you're back to square one. You don't know who's got access to what because you've done lots of user overrides, and things are back to being chaotic again. So change role sequencing. Again, build it back into JD Edwards. I'll give you a demonstration. So I'm going to a desktop with you. Okay. So I've got both the web app and the fact client. So wonder if I've been signed out of the web since I've been talking for a while. Let's just try on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I need to sign in again. So this demo in 9.1. And fast path to my application. And if any questions or any of you want to see this running on the what we call the client, you can see it's also open as well. Okay, it's a bit slow to load. On being slow, I think we'll just cut over to the fact client, and I can come back to this later. I don't want everybody to sit there while this is unloading. Give it a few seconds. Maybe being impatient. Okay, just in time. Okay. So when we're familiar with Q software, in this tool we've cut down the menus that we have, and we've really embedded a lot of the processes with the central application itself. Now, this is still running really slow, so I'll let that load up, but I'm going to cut over to the fact client. So we're in only mode, and within this mode, I can't change anything, but the great thing is you can distribute this to certain users and allow them to review things like fine cut and security setup. So what I'm going to do is cut over to menu design, and you'll now see a bunch of icons have appeared. So we've got the top views on the left-hand side. This is a live view over Solution Explorer in JD Edwards. And we have a bunch of icons along the bottom that allow us to do task view management. So we can add a task view, add a task, insert a task into an existing one, and that will create the task relationships. With task relationships, change, delete, select, copy, cut, paste, load to grid, and save. Okay. So one of the nice features, and I'm not going to go too much into menu management today, is that you can, if you've got a task somewhere, you can copy that to another place. You'll also see this icon on the left, we can copy fine cut. So if you're doing all the work on fine cut, and you've got a role set up, and you want five roles to have the same fine cut, in JD Edwards you've got to go and repeat that work over and over again. Not all, you don't need to. You can just copy fine cut from to a role and save ourselves a lot of time in the process. And we can bring in a particular role. I've got my AB clerk, and what we're now seeing is the fine cut for the AB clerk. So you'll see AB clerk can only have access to address book and daily and periodic processing. If I want to have them access to other things, I simply check like so. Okay? And this can all be done through the web browser as well. Okay, so you've got all sorts of abilities to do menu management, inserting tasks, adding tasks, copying, find, cut, that kind of thing. And what I'll do now is just close this. So you've got this ability to look at your menus on this central screen. The big thing that customers said to us was, we really like our security to mirror our menus, because when we upgraded to 9.0 or 9.1, we started to define what user roles could access through Solution Explorer. So we said, and it makes a lot of sense. You look at all the sort of pre-canned setup, financials, accounts payable. You would argue that in order to do daily processing, supply and voucher entry, that these objects here, these tasks, would allow you to do exactly that. And of course, in your customizations and that kind of thing. But these folders do give a fairly good indication of what certain jobs should do. And so with that, we've developed something called One Click, and that's what I'm going to show in this demo. So we allow you to do it for all roles or a selection. So I'm just going to do it for the AB clerk. So you could do roles, you could do it for your entire user role landscape and just put it in. Some important details here. We're going to exclude versions. So we want to bring versions into the F00950 because that's going to make it really big and really sort of maybe go a little bit too far with the security. But to include versions, you just untick this. We exclude roles without fine cut. So if a role has no fine cut, then without security, that role can access everything. And so going to generate security that allows that role access to everything, which doesn't make any sense. So we want to exclude roles without fine cut. Run this in pre-check, and when I untick that, you'll also see we exclude star public. So as part of this, if I untick that, we can also write some star public records in to start our orders close process. In the defaults, we've got application run install set to yes. So we want to grant access to things on the AB Clark's menu, and I can then start setting up the defaults. Also notice that I can automatically pull in exits, UVs, and hidden programs, and can go down to 1 through to 3 levels, and can pull in security types 1 and 3. I'm actually going to untick them because I want to run this report in the demo, and if I pull in the hidden programs, we'll be sitting around waiting for a little bit longer. So, I know this. Give me a warning to say, if you start running it in pre-check, click OK, cancel. Ready, the AB Clark has gone red. I'm thought to talk a little bit more about this on the right-hand side. On the right side, we have profiles. As you can see, the profiles are different colours. So this one here, the AB Clark, the one we just built the security for, is red because we've pulled security to that role, but we have not yet validated it for SOD, validated it for conflicts, or even built it into JDE. The A manager here in green is all that has been validated, so we've checked it, but we've not yet built it into JD Edwards. And here in white are roles that are in sync with JD Edwards. So in other words, with security within our tool, and it's been built to JD Edwards. Now, this button here, which will allow you to create security from a task. So I one click, and it pulled in all the sort of menu access for a particular role and created the security. What if you add a new module with new tasks, or rather go through that process again? You can start generating security from individual tasks. Okay. Now switch to security design. The left-hand panel disappears, and a bunch of icons appear below. And what at this point is to change and look at the security that was generated, and with security, you can see it's all based on the address book that was based on this particular role's fine cut. Point, when I come in, if I want to add further security, because a standard grid I can import from a spreadsheet, I can simply type it in, like so, and it pulls the actual description from the object library as well. And you'll also notice there are a bunch of Ys, associate apps, reports, search to select hidden programs. I mentioned before that we can automatically pull these in, but you can also manually configure them as well. So by adding a program to the grid, I can see these are all exits with the T4210. I want to allow access to these. So if I want to application security, yes, I simply click like so. Click and you'll see they're now all added to the grid. But I changed my defaults to say yes instead of no, obviously. So for this particular role, let's go through the process. So we do an SE and conflict check. And what we now will do before we even touch GE is just check it. Okay, does it cause any issues? A user here with an issue pre-planned. Secret issues. This user has got the AB clock role and the AP manager role. And this environment, here when I do that example I gave in the PowerPoint, as you can see, the setting red takes power over the setting in blue. So this user, if they sign in with *OR, they'll inherit security for AB Clark, which will allow them to add, change, delete, as opposed to the AP manager that can only inquire on the address book. Say, well, this doesn't work for me. I want you the demo to only inquire. So we can think about, well, do I change the role assignment? Do I change the security itself? The point is you have the option to do something before you build it into JD Edwards. Now, in case, this might be a problem. The user may never phone up and say, hey, I've got an issue. But if the user is expecting to be able to add, change, delete in the address book, and they have got the no settings, of course, they've been on the phone complaining at someone. So the point then is that you've got to fix these issues before they touch JDE. AB Clark role has gone green. And so the last stage is simply to build to the 950. So as you can see, and there we are, just warning again. So I pick role when there are only issues around Sequence Manager. And the role white and in sync with JD Edwards. Just touch on a few more of the features here. So you've got the ability, as I showed you, to change the security, review conflicts, review SOD issues. We've got things like the ability to add notes and reporting codes. So if you use JD Edwards category codes, particularly things like address cat codes, so if you assign users to apartments, locations, line managers, any of that kind of thing, you can synchronize those codes with our software. So you could see show me users who are based in Sydney, for example, and you'd then be able to work on that particular set of users' roles. Okay. The other thing we have is something called Quick Capture. If you've already done a lot of work on your security and you don't want to do what I've shown you today, which is to do menu, design security for menus, with this simple report, we can import your security from JDE, okay, the tool, and then do your SOD checks, your Sequence Manager checks, and start to add the other security types, start to sort of revamp it, rework it as part of your aid or re-implementation. But say, you're going to select security, choose the profiles, and again you can do it for all or some. Okay, doing a shift select. On this report, run it in proof of final, and the software will then import the security from the F00950. Okay, install, and then again you do the SOD checks, etc. Also mentioned, if you like working with spreadsheets, we have a clever import routine. And while I'm at it, if I just take a role, hasn't got any security, take the A manager, manually. But if you've got a spreadsheet, you can you copy our column values here, you can put in some security. So I'm just going to type it into this grid. Access to everything. Why not? See, I can add or delete a record. So if you're looking in batch, this can be helpful too. Okay, make sure I've gone in. And now what we do is run this security report. What this does is it through the data I've entered, just to make sure there's no basic things like typos, duplications, that kind of thing. And let's run that locally. And then populates the security that I've pulled in from a spreadsheet or entered on a grid against the particular profile. So we should finish pretty quick. There we go. Already errored out. As you can see, what I needed to do was enter a yes or no for the add value. So I now go to the profile. So my mistake, but the fact the reports see what I can do to fix it. The procedure does have some security against them. It imported the application because I didn't put that no in for the add. Okay, so the software is thorough. We want you to tell us exactly what settings you want in there. Okay, and now what I could do is go and add that YO value to add security and re-import the action code. Okay, the point is that if you're importing a lot of security at any one time, this background check can make sure that the data going in is nice and clean. So just recap. We have reviewed menus, Solution Explorer, menu design, but if you're interested in more details on that, please do get in touch with us, and we can take you through a further demo. But what I showed you is how to build security from Solution Explorer, taking into account fine cut. Okay, and we've built the security up with the one click. Looked at the ability to edit the security and the different statuses, the different colors, the roles on the right-hand side. We've looked at the SOD and conflict checking for Sequence Manager particularly. And then we built it into JD Edwards, and that changes now took effect. We looked at the ability to quick capture, so capture your security from within JD Edwards. And finally, we looked at what you would do is if you had spreadsheets or some other design that you want to pull in and manage your security that way. And the final to mention, just again something to leave you with, we didn't tell was favorites. In our tool, we have the ability to view users' favorites, and if there are any changes we want, in Pillar, I can just delete this from that user's favorites. Maybe that's an old version of a program we don't want them to access anymore. So when user next signs in, that program is no longer in their favorites. Okay. There's a bunch more features that we could spend time showing you today. But again, if you've got any further questions or you require a demonstration, please do get in touch. That's all on the web. I think because maybe we've done a package build and things running a little bit slower, but there we are. As you can see, this is moving a bit quicker now, but everything's available on the web to you as well. So, it's called Security Manager Express, and it is available now to use. So, if you're going for an upgrade, if you're planning an upgrade, if you're reworking your security and you like what you've seen today, then please do get in touch. We could take you for a further demo, and hopefully this Express tool will help you implement security dramatically quicker than you're able to dragging and dropping security in JD Edwards. Okay, the benefits. Easy to use, as you saw. You've got to review and use all the features and functions within JD Edwards to manage our menus. Very to create menus of security. I didn't actually go into menu creation or design, but very easy and quick to create the security. That one click will suck in all the security, all the menus that a role can access and generate a security model. Loads of ownership, very easy to use because you can put it on the web. You can distribute it to a lot of different people. It'll save time. So again, if you're working with spreadsheets, very easy to pull that data in and create security en masse, as it were. We provide a preceded SOD rule set. So I showed you the checking of SOD before segregation duties before the security touched JD Edwards. To get going, we do provide some preceded content. There's no charge for that, so it's free, but it gives you something to use on day one to start testing your users against. Again, it's free, so you can change it, you can add to it, delete it, you don't even have to use it, but it's there for you to use nonetheless. We've got this session to about 35-40 minutes. I really wanted to keep in tune with this idea of doing things quickly. But what I will say is if you want a more in-depth demo, if you're doing an upgrade or just any reason to be re-implementing security in on 9.1, please get in touch and we can organise a further demo of what you've seen today. And again, touch on more of the detail around some of the features that we showed you. Now, the slide deck from today is available, so please do get in touch with myself or Andrew, and we can get that sent out to you. But we're going to remain on the line for a few more minutes for any questions, and I will go through the chat and Q&A now. But otherwise, you're free to leave, as it were, and thank you much for attending. Andrew, I'll just unmute you as well. So for Andrew and myself, thank you very much for attending. Andrew, is there anything else you want to say? Okay. Again, so, thank you very much for attending. That is the end of the session, and as I say, we'll remain around for a little bit longer for any questions.